Hey guys, today is Monday, June 2nd, 2025. My name is Tony. This is my podcast and welcome to it. So today I want to talk about something that's going to piss some people off, and that's just the way it's going to be. I make no apologies. I want to talk about addiction. Now, addiction harms people. I don't think that part needs defending. It frays trust. It pulls people into lies. It creates distance where there used to be closeness. It makes loving someone hard. It makes being loved feel impossible. And I've been on both sides of that. I know what it's like to need something so badly that you'll lie, hide, or disappear to get it. And I know what it's like to try to hold on to someone who's slipping away into that need. So, yes, addiction breaks relationships, it breaks promises, it leaves people around you feeling like they can't reach you anymore. That's real. That much is not up for debate. But what almost never gets said, at least not publicly, is that the damage doesn't always end when the substance use stops. Sometimes it just changes form because the culture we've built around recovery is often so rigid, so fear-based, so dogmatic that it keeps people locked into an identity of brokenness. And that has its own consequences, ones that I don't think we talk about enough. Now, I've never been part of recovery circles. I didn't go to AA. I didn't do 12 steps. I didn't work a program. I didn't get sober through surrender or structure. I got sober by doing something much less celebrated and much less scripted. I dealt with the shit that made me thirsty. For me, alcohol wasn't a habit, it was a survival tool. It helped me live with pain that I hadn't figured out how to process. And once I started working through that pain, the need for the bottle faded. Not overnight, not without effort, but in a way that stuck. And now I don't drink, but I also don't fear drinking. I don't feel triggered by it, and I don't shape my identity around avoiding it. That story should be hopeful, but in a culture that sees recovery as a lifelong battle, it's often treated like a threat. I've talked to people who have been sober for years, sometimes even decades, and they still introduce themselves as addicts, still live by the idea that they're one drink away from ruin. And I've watched how that narrative starts to infect relationships, especially platonic ones. Because if one person heals and the other is told that healing isn't real, trust can't fully return. If your recovery model says that you'll never be safe, how do you let anyone close again? How do you rebuild connection when the model itself says you're broken forever? And I think that's where the harm creeps back in, not from relapse, but from a fear of relapse, from the idea that you must always be managed, watched, supported, sponsored, and kept in check. I've seen friendships crumble, not because of alcohol or drugs, but because one person moved on and the other couldn't. And it wasn't jealousy, it was belief. Belief in a model that says that the struggle must never end, that healing is suspect, that wholeness is dangerous. Recovery in its best form should reconnect us to ourselves and to each other. But I think too often it does the opposite. It isolates people in a language of powerlessness. It rewards constant struggle and downplays growth. It celebrates relapse as part of the process, but dismisses lasting peace as denial. To me, that's not recovery. That's emotional captivity. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not dismissing the damage done by addiction. I've done that damage. I've lived the cost of it. But what I'm saying is, let's not replace one kind of damage with another. Let's not trade addiction for a lifetime of fear and self-surveillance. If someone finds healing through a program, I respect that. If a structure helps someone feel safe, I'm not going to try to take that away. But we need more than one script. We need room for stories that don't end in lifelong maintenance. We need to stop building our relationships around shared wounds and start building them around mutual health. You can get better. You can grow and you can recover and then stop recovering because you're well. If we can't imagine that, then maybe the problem isn't addiction. Maybe it's the story we keep telling about what it means to heal.